Hey guys, welcome to Oxygen Not Included, spaced out with the no printing challenge. Thanks to everybody who's stuck so far through the very poorly recorded VODs, but from here on in, this is straight to YouTube recordings, which means hopefully it'll look just a little bit better. Our hapless settlement is actually, not quite thriving, but certainly surviving, and we've got 3 colonists still all alive and well fed. Well, reasonably well fed. Well, not currently starving to death, but let's see what we can actually get up to today, and let's see if we can maybe turn some of that survival into some real thrival. Well, first thing we want to do is finish our evolution chamber. Getting any amount of automation going between getting the hatches from is going to be very important. Still at the position of manually having to kill these hatches as they go, and that's risky at best. While that's going on, we have an abundance of jobs that these guys actually need to get done, from finishing up this ladder so that we can replace this with a fire pole, kicking myself for not having planned this gap better because this is where our gas needs to come up and down, various dig jobs from getting this muck root because we do still want to get the little bits of food that we can get our hands on, to getting started on clearing out this area so we can actually do something cool with it. I don't know if I've actually mentioned this, but I think the excess from this is going to go into an actual polluted water tank that's going to fill all the way up to here. We're going to close it off, have some deodorizers, and that will allow us to have a pretty massive paku pond, which is going to be, lovely. Let's actually see what everybody's busy doing. Camille's focusing on harvesting some food, which is fantastic. That number's moved up on its own for the first time in I don't know how long, but yeah, that is where we're at the moment. Busy, Camille just running around getting all the food. That's great. You going to go and eat it, or are you just storing it? Just storing, okay. So I've been looking at the technology, seeing that they are actually starting to get some research in again. And while it's true that smelting is definitely going to be important, not only for our transporting of items, but also so that we can actually get our incubators up and running for full automation. But I want to detour before we actually get to full automation to get liquid tuning, because an aqua tuner is a thing that I want to get really, really quickly on, especially considering if we look at our food situation. This fancy storage is only going to work so well for so long in terms of how much food we can keep, because there are 2 attributes to space that you need to preserve food with, and that is the temperature as well as the gas in it. So as nice as this vacuum actually is, I think we might actually end up changing it up before we even ended up using it. So there is a plan. I don't know if it's a good one yet, but we're going to find a spot for a cooling loop. I want to plug it right in here, but that seems ill-advised, but we'll revisit that. But that's the thing we are working towards currently. In the meantime, the research itself is steadily going along when Camille isn't busy jogging. Well, it was until the moment I decided to start recording again. But there goes Otto with some more water. That's going to make its way back up to somewhere, probably the sink. I don't know what he's up to anymore with his life. We are still in the position of needing to manually farm our hatches. Hopefully all the hatches fall asleep now, so that when Camille comes and grabs them, or when Abe comes and grabs them, they won't immediately eat the meat. Immediately sweep that. Red alert that sucker. I will not be that guy whose colony starved because the hatches ate each other. And there goes Otto, delivering the meat. So it is the morning of cycle 50 on this little rock, and our plan for today is simple. We're going to take all these queued up jobs and reduce the amount of work that hasn't yet been done, and actually try and get our technology to a point where we can actually stabilize things. So we might not have an industrial brick down, but we're going to have everything we need to get started. So that is the goal today. Let's see if we actually achieve that or not without these guys getting distracted by various other crises. I can't help but think that I'm really stalling on the actually getting a renewable source of power that isn't powered by calories. Abe's going to get a lot of exercise powering the base, but on the plus side, this is going to get their athletics and their machinery skills up fairly high. Skill level +3, Luddite -3. Okay, cool. So Peace just a Luddite. Okay. By powering the base for a long time with manual generator, we should have a good time at least upskilling the guys. Looks like we have done our first research. So we're going to get that cooling stuff. Where is it? Here we go. And we can figure out our next step for some machinery. I've had an idea about the machinery, at least temporarily, and I'm a terrible person for having this idea. But what if we completely just skip having a cooling loop for a while and just... This is gonna go poorly. I should probably figure out some sort of overflow, so that if this thing is full, it'll go straight to here. But first, that would imply remembering how to do that exactly. I'm pretty sure just piping it over like this would make this the overflow. Cancel that, copy that, and just there we go. So that way we also won't get any backwash. What's nice about doing this way is that there's no way that building this as is actually going to cause any backlog. Like, if they only half build the thing, the system will still just continue to work without disruption. The only tricky bit is I need to make this one way, so let's just copy that, flip that, and boom. One-way pipes, everything is one way, which means everything should just work as intended.
A few moments later.
What I did forget was any thought of getting power down here from our very, shall we say, basic power system. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to hook this straight up to a transformer so that we don't cause any explosions just by using this thing, because this wire is just going to keep getting damaged. Right, step 2 of my genius plan, power. So it's a really simple setup. We've got a power transformer, we've got some heavy watt wires to a battery, so that the power coming in here is never going to be bigger than it needs to be. This is backwards. Copy. Right, so if you delete the thing that you're trying to copy, it just doesn't. So we need to, let's clean this up a bit. Clean that. Power, bing bam boom. This way, yes. I'm pretty sure this is in fact how power works. Maybe. And here comes Otto, popping down some wires, and immediately getting distracted by not doing that. I think the copper's quite far, so they're going on long journeys to just bring it over. There's a power watt transformer, and soon we'll be able to actually queue up some jobs on this, which is going to be amazing. Yes, build my pretties. I believe Camille's our worst builder. Construct still -1, yes. So hopefully at least the longer builds give her some more experience. Guys, you missed. Thank you. Iron ore. Okay, so now we can actually order some things. Normally I would just start going ham with some copper ore to copper, but I don't actually know what my resources are like. I haven't seen them in a while. I apparently think we're going to be working with copper for a while. We have 25 tons of it to our disposal, and let's have a look, see. So 10 orders is 1 ton, so 90 orders would be 9 tons. I think we can spare that. Right, so everything is wired up. 90 of the copper ores are queued up, and the only thing that is left is we're waiting for the materials and the coolant. So here becomes the fun question. How many times do 3 duplicates have to wash their hands and or flush the toilet in order to create 400 kilos of bad water? Well, let's find out. Right, so Abe has walked past, so even if he doesn't use the bathroom, he's got to come back at some point. There he goes. So he's going to be using the sink over there.
Bruh.
Or just ignore... Oh my... Abe. By way of apology, Abe is now actually using the bathroom. So how much does this actually make? Does it say using lavatory, 12 kilos of polluted water per use, 11.7 kilos of water per use. It's an oddly specific amount. -1 rats. Did he just poop out radiation? Okay. And he's got food, so now he's washing his hands. So there's a little bit more water coming as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4.4 kilos. Oh my word. So that means per movement, which I expect will translate to per day, one dupe is going to create about 15 to 16 keys of polluted water. So with all of our now 82.3 out of the 400 that we need for this operation, that's going to work out to, let's see, 15 times 3 is 45, 8 or 9 days. That's wonderful. It's nice though because I didn't want the metal refinery to take up too much of their time. I don't want one duplicant just sitting on the metal refinery constantly just making the metal. I want them to be like, oh, we have the resources to do one cycle of this. Let's go and do it and then continue on with the other 8 million things that need to be done around the base. This is a temporary setup and we are going to eventually hook up some sort of automation so that the work that the dupes do on this is they arrive, they execute the recipe, and then they leave. They don't have to worry about picking up or putting down or bringing things over. They just do the minimum amount of input. But that's long-term goals. Otto, in the meantime, looks like they want to absolutely stab me because I've now hooked up a battery to a lossy power converter to another battery that is also very lossy. So they're just running and yeah, that face seems more accurate. Buddy, are you gonna... Okay. I thought he was just planning on running. Ridiculous. Damage from overloading. Potential load just over a megawatt. Ooh. Ting tang walla bang bang. At least research is proceeding smoothly. Okay, still going to get water every time they do some research, but we've got a pretty solid supply of that. And with 3 dupes consuming water for other purposes, I'm confident that we're going to use more water for research than anything else for a while. But my god, Otto, that research speed, what is your skill at, buddy? 15! Oh, Otto's our one who actually has the skills in research. That's great. Camille, on the other hand, is... Well, they're all making faces because our carbon dioxide is very slowly starting to accumulate. Let's just put this to gas. It's not nothing. It's not at all nothing. And we have these pockets sitting at the bottom of quite a few layers. But eventually we'll get this going. So looking at the research now for animal control, I've realized that there are 2 new things with the expansion. There's the fertilizer synthesizer, which now that I say it out loud is... I think this has always been a thing. I think I just literally never used fertilizer in the base game. The refrigerator, which is going to be nice. I think we might use it as part of a temporary solution until we've got our big freezing machinery up and running. Our Parkside, which is going to be good for morale, and this radiation lamp, which I've seen the stripe now, that means it is new. I just never use fertilizer. So emits radiation wind power that can be collected by a rad bolt generator. So we're literally generating radiation to then ungenerate power. So I guess this is a good way of converting power, or I'm missing something. But that's going to be interesting. So I was looking at this thing and wondering why I can't make any steel, but I'm realizing that I've never been in possession of refined iron, and I'm wondering if that's maybe a requirement. So we're going to put 1,000 of our 1,200 keys of iron into iron ore, and we're going to put a pause on the copper and prioritize it and see if our first operation maybe alters the fact that we don't have steel, because we do need steel for a cooling solution, because otherwise your aquatuners tend to be damaged very quickly. While we wait for that, I have been slowly prioritizing some constructions and dig jobs around the base, just so that they're getting some things done. Nobody wants to clean this, I don't know why. Our potential load on power is over 1,000 watts, slightly over what the wires can take, but our current watt load is sitting casually between 6 watts and 121. I have no idea what in the base is using 6.67 watts. I'm guessing it's probably these things working on like low capacity or something. Meanwhile, this has been slowly filling up. We're a third of the way through there on water. But I find it interesting that the germs that we have actually, the water in here, germy av, over 1 million germs. The refinery itself, clean as a whistle. And the base overall is okay, apart from this one little space here, really clean. Like, we were battling with germs not long ago, and now the only germs in the base are in this little zone, and we're going to sort that out soon enough. This deodorizer is going to slowly get to work, and then all of the slime lung germs will just eventually die out. In fact, there's only a little bit of polluted oxygen left in this whole area, which will eventually get picked up by this, and then that'll be gone, and then we'll eventually have to just hunt down the last pockets in the base. But germs don't survive on their own in oxygen. They'll eventually die out. So we just have to let that happen. Of course, that'll never happen while there's all this polluted water everywhere. So even if I clean that, these germs will still stay here, but this isn't germy water, which is very surprising to me. We lucked out there. But yeah, we just need to actually decide that enough is enough. I'm rather done with the whole let's ignore the sweep commands everywhere shtick. I think it's run on long enough. The next step will be to get a tap over here so that we can actually unload all of it. Otherwise, it's just all going to eventually off gas in the rest of the main living area anyway. But luckily, we can just pop that as a 6. And when this happens, this happens. It's not going to be the end of the world either way. I love this. I have not intervened in their food input intake since cycle 50, and the calories have just been slowly hovering and or slightly moving up. I think a very real part of that is the fact that there have been some dig jobs that have been happening. Like, a lot of digging means a lot of food, hence 5,000 calories of muckroot. But I think the fact that there's meal ice means that they've also been occasionally collecting what's been growing naturally around these natural farms, and we now have a park sign. And there's a new tab next to rocketry. We have radiation. Yes. I have no idea how any of this works, but it does require uranium ore at a per second rate. So I guess this actually turns uranium into uranium rods. Either way, we can't be messing with that now. What I actually want to do at this exact moment is get to work on our furniture. Since when? Okay, so we're going to make this room into a natural park. I know it doesn't look like a natural park, it's ridiculous, but everyone's going to be running through this when they pet these guys and get a morale boost, and at some point we'll do the same up here. For now, I'm just going to yeet this sign here, and at some point we can figure out what we're going to do about rooms on that subject. I'd say it's been a while since we've actually checked any blueprint skills. We are allowed to use this thing for the skills things because it's the only way we can actually upskill them, but obviously we can't do much in terms of actually printing anything in is the only difference. Right, so Camille has full skills in printing, and I'm just going to straight up start beelining her towards tinkering. I don't know if she's going to be our first mechatronics, but someone's going to start heading that direction. Get her a hat. I think we actually want to take Otto. No, I don't know who we want to take for this. I think it's going to have to be Abe. Let's get him electrical engineering in the meantime. Otto, in the meantime, we should diversify a bit. I do want to get some things built at a reasonable pace, so he can get into full construction and hope that we don't drop our morale. And we've turned it back off. So I'm realizing how long it's going to be before we have any mechatronics engineers. We're going to need the skill scrubber at some point. I think the plan is going to be, once we've gotten to a point where research that we want to get, we'll scrub Otto, beeline him straight into mechatronics, and then we can circle our way back to being able to do research, or maybe even put someone else on research so they can up their ability to learn other skills. Or I can just accidentally do it to Otto now. Okay, I'm gonna call Kismet. Now, I'm not saying I fucked up. I did, but I'm not saying it. Let's start out with the skills like this. You can teach it to him, but he's going to be stressed. Screw it. He doesn't need to be happy. I mean, the stress isn't going to kill him. It's just going to really, really upset them. So, sorry, Otto, but we're going to do this for the good of the colony. You'll understand when you have not starved to death. Back off again in as many minutes. To prevent further mishaps, we're also going to disable the skills scrubber. Just put a bit of a two-factor authentication on that, because now no one's able to use the supercomputer, but we will rectify that as soon as anybody gains another skill point. In the meantime, we are going to strike while this particular iron is hot. We're going to get some conveyor rails going up to our evolution chamber, which we need to finish up. So first we rotate this, bing bam boom, and from there it is a simple matter of shipping. Here we go. Conveyor chute, conveyor rail. Let's spend the extra resources and do this neatly the first time. I don't want to have to like adjust stuff down the road. We'll build those up to there. And then as soon as we have any amount of metal, we can get to work on some conveyor rails and some conveyor loaders. With those combinations of things, we can get everything done. But you see, there are spots we are unable to build, so we're going to... Is this even physically possible? Is that? No. Let's see if this silliness actually works. I'd be very surprised if it does. When everything has priority 9, nothing has a priority of 9. But it is one way we're going to find out about if this actually works or not. I've decided that I don't trust my past self to tell these guys what order to do things, so we're just going to red alert that sumbitch and watch how quickly things get built. Is this now still an unreachable build? I'm hoping they can get through here, otherwise I'm going to have a problem. Build. Actually, all told, I could always just redo this section. I just really don't want to. But also, that said, I might have to if I'm planning on moving the cooling. So maybe I should actually plan things and just work according to actually having planned things. Actually red alerting things just highlights how horribly slow these guys are getting some things done. Also, they went and germed up the water, which I very want to avoid because that is literally the water we are making our food in. So I might have to redo the evolution chamber from scratch, and if that is the case, I am going to be a sad panda. So mostly through luck, there just happens to be carbon dioxide in this tile here, so even though we lost the actual vacuum, this is still exactly what we want, where we want it to be. In the meantime, we're almost there on the water. We almost have our first bit of actual iron, and we have 2 million germs in that water that are just barely dying. I think we may have glitched a way into making theoretically infinite germs, and that's the thing we're gonna have to solve at some point. 386, come on, somebody use the bathroom. Otter, you heard me. Wash your hands. Yes. 400. And you see that gauge that's been filling up stopped. Otto's working. Let's see. First things first, is this going to give us the recipe for steel? Yes, it does. Excellent. Let's have a look at this water that's coming up. Polluted water. Can I view the water? No, I cannot. Okay. We may have to figure out a solution to the germs in the water problem, as well as...
It was at this moment that Nathan knew. He fucked up.
That's gonna be a problem. So let's just very, very quietly just do that before this thing explodes on itself. So what's happening here is the bridge doesn't actually know which way to send the water out, so it's going up here, back down, or to the right, and it's 50-50ing it, which means there's going to be 200 kilos of water that is warmer than we actually want it to be. It might steam out. That might be a problem, but here we've also Now, one way the water bridge before it's too full, and now I think this is just going to be some water at high temperature. 160 kilos. Okay, so almost all of it went through. Perfect. We've assigned this water to collect polluted water and send it over. So all this loose polluted water in the base should get pulled up, and it's not even sweep only. So that should just eventually happen when they get to it. Ironically, I think our biggest blocker on this is going to be the lime. Refined carbon at some point I will be able to automate making out of all the coal that these hatches have so kindly made for us. The lime we actually need to crush from eggs, which I hate using the manual crusher, but it's going to be a necessary evil. So we've at least got our shipping rails now built. This is deliberately not on the same track. That's a whole different set of items that's going to go in there. But with this basis, this is all there, but we're going to need a total of 800 kilos of metals before we can actually put on the auto sweepers and the conveyor loaders that are going to make this entire system work. That's just going to be the start of the evolution chamber. We are eventually going to have to make some additions, including setting these guys off to the hatchery first. So eventually what we want to do is the sweeper's going to pick up any eggs. This room should not be empty. Any eggs that we have that will eventually get brought through here onto the conveyor loaders. The eggs pop out here, they'll hatch underwater, immediately drown unless we first hold them into incubators, and then that will be our full automatic food solution. So yeah, we have made some headway on this area. We have got some water and a working metal refinery, even if it's a very slow method. We've got some of our excess digs and construction sorted out. Next time, we're going to convert this to a fire pole and get a little bit more of this automation sorted out and a little bit closer to having a pacu pond that can actually sustain an amount of pacus. I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing how not to play Oxygen Not Included by never using your printing pod and generally being incompetent. And I will see you all next week. Be sure to hit them buttons and have a great time. Ciao.